time. Meat and Cheese Week is over. We are on to the Ravens. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us again. As you can see, we are down a man tonight. Alec was not able to make it, but that's okay because you're still in good hands. You got Dustin on this side of me. I do that every time. I can never get that right. You're on the screen. We're here. Make sure if you want more of us, subscribe to YouTube. Big Al's Big Five is really heating up. Sean was perfect this week. He will be back. I actually had a good gambling weekend and somehow still lost in the Big Five. So Sean will be back this week to go over this slate of games that we will get into in a little bit. Little bit of a different format tonight, so we probably won't have a takeoff, which since we won't, I kind of had something I wanted to talk about. So let's get into the news and notes. But first, we do have a bit of breaking news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story.
Breaking news.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen right now!
So, Dustin, I don't know if you've heard this story, but my take this week was going to be Urban Meyer's the first coach fired. That was going to be my takeoff take, which isn't that spicy, but, I mean, he just looks defeated. I don't know if you saw this story. Josh Lambo, kicker, came out and said that during a training camp practice, I'll see if I can bring up the story while I try to explain this. Apparently, during training camp, Urban Meyer kicked Josh Lambo. He kicked the kicker. And I'm trying to figure out what the quotes are. So this is according to Josh Lambo. Quote, I'm in a lunge position, left leg forward, right leg back. And then unquote. Urban Meyer, while I'm in that stretch position, comes up to me and says, hey, dipshit, make your bleeping kicks, and kicks me in the leg. Look, I don't know why this guy is still employed. He looks absolutely miserable. And at this point, it's not a hot take because that's a fireable offense. With all the BS that comes with Urban Meyer, now he's kicking players. These are grown-ass men. You cannot treat – first of all, you shouldn't treat anybody like that. But you can't treat grown-ass men like this. Dustin, your thoughts?
Dude's a clown. That's all I gotta say.
Oh.
He's just a clown. This dude,
the highest order.
How he got this job in the first place is beyond me. I hated it right away. I didn't like it. Sure, he was successful in college. Who the hell cares? Usually, zero college coaches that come to the NFL are successful. It just happens every time. Look at Nick Saban. He was not successful in the NFL.
Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. Yeah, sure.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl. We can say, yeah, sure, but Pete Carroll is a Super Bowl champion. That happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the only example you could give. But everyone else was, even like I said, like Nick Saban, like you look at him, just didn't really do anything. But yeah, this dude, he's going to get fired, and I don't think it's a shock to anybody at this point.
No, and he'll be first coach fired. I think they're going to – the Bears get into the Bears.
I'll say Nagy and Meyer will be pretty damn close who gets fired.
At this point, after this story comes out, how can Jags ownership be like, okay, we're going to ride out the season with this guy? Like, and obviously they know this stuff is going on, but now there's going to be this public pressure from, I guess, the 3 Jags fans that exist. But there's going to be pressure to get this guy off. He doesn't want to be there. I don't know if you saw his press conference over the weekend, but in his post-game press conference, there's a reporter laid into him. Like, your offensive line is being paid X amount, like hundreds of millions of dollars, and they are not playing well. They're getting their ass beat. And that was what the reporter said. I was actually kind of shocked. And this was Urban Meyer's response. And I kid you not, word for word, he looked at the reporter and said, yeah. That was it. That was his answer to why is your offensive line sucking? Yeah, they suck. He doesn't want to be there. And actually, the post-game handshake, I don't know why we're talking so much Jags after Bears week, but it is kind of a breaking story. I'm pretty sure Mike Vrabel went across the field to shake his hand. And, I mean, the audio listeners, you're not going to be able to see this. I'll try and demonstrate on stream. He literally just was like, okay.
Gave him the old limp fish, yeah.
Limp fish handshake, dead face, just – he's got dead eyes. He does not want to be there. He can keep saying, "Oh, I want to turn the culture around." No, you don't. It's on your face. Anyone with eyes can see that. So that's our breaking news story. And it's outrageous. And that's why I wanted to lead the show with it, because this just came out and maybe an hour ago. But man, that is absolutely ridiculous. But let's get into happier stuff. Let's start with this week's
News and notes from the league.
All right, we'll get to the game in a second, but Packers news, enough Jags talk. I'm just so sick of Urban Meyer. David Bakhtiari, after getting his knee cleaned out again, was back at practice today in a limited capacity. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, was also limited today with a back injury. And Jair was out there again, so I guess there's potential to play. We don't really know the extent of his injury right now, but Bakhtiari being back, that line is so thin, especially now that they lost Billy Turner, who did not practice today. Josh Neiman's actually been pretty good, all things considered, for a backup tackle. But God almighty, do they need Bakhtiari back?
Yeah.
And sorry, not to cut you off, but now they're thin at wide receiver too if MVS can't go.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell it's starting to get to the point of the season where people are starting to get injured. It's starting to turn into a long season. And, we need everyone back that we can, all hands on deck. Obviously Bakhtiari, like you said, is going to help a lot. I mean, like you said, Neiman's doing a good job of just, pretty much being okay, like decent. I think this last game with the Bears was probably his worst game he's played so far.
And he was still better than most.
Yeah, I mean, definitely still better than most, but yeah, definitely having Bakhtiari will help. And obviously, if Jair comes back, that would be a huge help to our defense. I just hope that they don't rush him back, because really, like, if you can let him rest till the end of the season, have him for postseason, that's perfect. Like, that's all we need.
Well, and I was actually going to bring this up tonight. I was thinking about it. The way Douglas is playing and the way Stokes is playing, and Sullivan's been fine. Really, they have the one weak spot being Henry Black. He's really the only weak spot in that secondary right now. So why rush him back, especially for a game like this week? The Ravens are really thin at receiver. Sammy Watkins was limited today. And Marquise Brown doesn't scare you. Mark Andrews scares you the most, I guess. But the quarterback's injured. Lamar he's day-to-day. He didn't practice today. So what's the point of rushing him back, especially for a weak receiving corps? Save him. You need him in January and potentially February. You don't need him right now.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it right there with going against a banged up Ravens team who you're not sure what you're going to see on Sunday. I mean, there's no point in bringing them back for this week, especially if you're not going to get Lamar, Sammy Watkins, or Brown, or any of those guys, and just Andrews. Like, let your defense right now handle it, because they're playing well. Like, rely on them and just let them heal. That's really all.
And that's all these guys. I mean, they need some offensive line help. MVS, he's been banged up all year. It is what it is. They brought up Juwan Winfrey from the practice squad, who looked decent in the one game he played in Arizona. Okay, fine. I mean, MVS is fine. It's not a huge drop off, but I mean, they're thin at receiver, but they've been thin at receiver for 3 years now, so that's not surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially that secondary that's playing so well, and they are so gelled right now. There's no need. Save him. He's going to be so important to you come January. But before we did a lot of looking ahead already, and we're going to get there and do a little more detailed analysis of that. But first, we got to look back in this week.
What just happened?
Time to roll back the tape. Here's this week's Game Rewind.
All I want to know if you got your popcorn ready.
All right. Good teams win. Great teams cover. Packers win by 15, covered the spread. They were 12.5-point favorites. And actually, that line went down to 11 by kickoff, which I was surprised by. But Packers win. Packers cover. Aaron Rodgers had a very nice game. 29 for 37, 341 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Justin Fields, his opposition, 18 of 33, 224 yards passing. Also had a very nice day on the ground. 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And the thing that I thought was kind of strange was that Justin Fields is the leading rusher for the Bears with, I have to look it up now. I didn't write that down. He had 9 carries for 74 yards. A.J. Dillon, 15 for 71. So Justin Fields was the leading rusher of the game, which I thought was kind of a strange thing. Look, offense looked fine. Defense was a little shaky in the beginning, but the offense was able to match. Let's just get into it. This special teams, something has to change. We've been talking about this for weeks. That was embarrassing. You can get away with that against the crappy Bears team. When it's January, think about, okay, Packer Nation, we're going to rip open this wound. Think about how important special teams are come January. Do you recall the NFC Championship in Seattle? Okay, it starts with a fake field goal that they score on. Okay, fine. One mistake, they're playing well in that game, whatever, one mistake, blah, blah, blah. Onside kick, off his head. I don't even remember who that. He's not even in the universe. He's in hiding because Green Bay fans shame that guy. I don't even.
Was that Richard Rodgers?
No, it was.
Oh shit! Who was
Bostic?
it? Yeah, Bostic. Yeah,
Brandon Bostic, tight end. He was like a third string tight end, right off his helmet. That's 2 special teams mistakes. They lose. They're at home. Seattle goes to the Super Bowl. Then this past weekend, there are so many. I'm so infuriated by this team, and really the special teams, not so much the defense and offense. It's going to cost you, and we've seen it cost you before.
Yeah. Oh wow. It's a lot. Like it makes my head hurt just watching that come again. Like we talked before this, it is complete dog shit on what they're doing in special teams. Like I don't know how you describe it besides just complete dog shit. Like you're professional athletes who are paid to do your special teams job, and you cannot do it for the whole life of you. Like I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's the players. Like who do you blame? Like who do you blame? Like it's an embarrassment when you let. It was 2 kick returns for a touchdown, right? One kickoff and 1 punt.
I mean, the whole game, and I don't have that particular stat in front of me. They started just about every drive at the 40, and then Crosby kicked one out of bounds.
Yeah.
Throw that into the mix.
Yeah, it's an embarrassment. I mean, and then the onside kick, which, I mean, really, like, what the hell was happening? That whole thing, like, once you see it go over the head, like, first of all, like, someone's got to be getting underneath it and calling fair catch or at least landing on the ball. I mean, it wasn't like I think they threw MVS there, not realizing that he probably wasn't a great guy for that spot, seeing he has terrible hands just catching the ball normally.
Yeah, okay, we can get into this. It's hard to pick one place to start because I have a lot of complaints, and I was fired up, mainly because the Bears were threatening to cover, and I didn't want that to happen. But I don't understand why Amari Rodgers is still back there. That experiment has failed. He muffed another kick this week. And I don't know, again, I'm sorry for the audio listener. He tried to catch that ball like this.
Yep.
Who in the history of football and kick returning has fielded a punt like this? It is absurd to me. Why? And I heard this on a different Packers podcast today. Why not throw Lazard back there? He apparently did punt returns in college. He doesn't have to take hits. Just have him back there to, at this point, fair catch and just catch the GD ball because it is becoming absurd. These are professional athletes. Catch the freaking football. You are a professional receiver. The punt is coming down from on high. Yes, I get it. And there's gladiators running at you as fast as they can to hit you as hard. Okay, it's scary. I get that. Toughen up. You are professionals.
Yeah, I don't really think I have to elaborate on that one. I think you kind of nailed it. Just catch the freaking ball. Like it's not that hard.
It's not okay. So all that aside, okay, catch the God-forsaken football. Okay, that's one thing. Who's tackling? I know Jakeem Grant literally is an Olympic sprinter. He tried out for the Olympics. The dude can fly. I get that. But every team you are going to play come January has got dudes like that. And if there's one weakness of this defense, is that over-the-top ball. They have been burned on deep balls, which you can make an argument. Okay, take your chances deep because really, I mean, chances are it's going to be incomplete, going to be broken up. Or, I mean, worst case scenario, you get a DPI, pass interference, or they catch it, and that's a big play. Okay, but how often does that actually happen? But the counterpoint is, well, Tom Brady could throw a deep ball yet, which is just absurd at 44. Mahomes, if you see him come January, he can throw the deep ball. I'm trying to think, Kyler Murray, that's all they do. I mean, that's the new offense. Throw it deep because there's a chance he's going to catch it or you're going to get all those yards anyway because of DPI. And it just – so anyway, speed seems to be an issue for this team. But Khalil Herbert, the backup running back for the Bears, literally would take kick returns from the end zone and had no fear and just went to the 40. It makes my head hurt. And you can tell I'm fired up about this because the Packers special teams has been solid for years. We have not had to worry about it. I don't know who the hell is in charge. I believe it's Mo Drayton. That dude needs to pack his bags and hit the road like yesterday.
Yeah, it's funny because like we released our last special teams coordinator who like everyone thought, oh, this dude sucks, like he's bad, and then we get this guy and it's just become an absolute shit show. Like nothing's going right, everything's going the wrong direction. Like like there's nothing else to say besides he's gonna get fired and there's gonna be a new special teams coordinator again.
I understand they're not going to fire someone mid-season, but if there is ever an example, this is a Super Bowl winning caliber team. They can win the Super Bowl this year, and it wouldn't shock anybody. And obviously, we hope so here on the Lockdown Corner podcast. But you have the potential with this garbage special teams unit to cost Aaron Rodgers another Super Bowl. And let's be real, he's already has Green Bay's organization on thin ice. If he loses, not because of defense, not because of offense, because a GD special teams player couldn't tackle somebody, he's for sure going to leave. And nobody would blame him. Because how many times do we have to see the same movie? You need to win, you need to have all three phases locked and loaded. They have two. And unfortunately, special teams, every time they kicked the ball, I was scared. Whether that's field goals or kickoffs or punts. Bojorquez has been awesome, the punter. But no one can tackle. If you can tell I'm fired up and you can hear it in my voice, I don't understand. I really do not understand. And I saw an article today by Rob Domofsky of ESPN. Well, do they need to put Rasul Douglas and Kevin King and all of our starters on special teams? If it's come to that, the shit has hit the fan.
Then you need to start cutting dudes and finding new guys because really, that is why you have a 53-man roster is to fill special teams. Like half of that roster is for special teams. There's zero excuse why you cannot be good at your one position.
It's just I see Equanimous St. Brown on punt coverage, and it's just of all the guys, he's the one to make big plays. Literally, he's the only guy I can name who's consistently made tackles. He's a receiver. That's embarrassing. Yep. The whole thing is, and look, this whole hour podcast, it probably won't be an hour today, but normally it's an hour. This whole podcast could be about how bad the special team is. That's how fired up I am. But there was a lot of good things. Defense looked a little shaky to begin with, but credit to Matt Nagy and Justin Fields because the one thing that the Bears showed weirdly on Sunday, they emptied their bag of tricks. There was creativity. They were running reverses. There was motion. It's just, but I don't understand what the game plan was defensively. And they made adjustments, and then they shut that shit down. Bears scored 3 points in the second half. And obviously they were set up pretty well with their special teams. And look, I don't want to have the Justin Fields fight. I really don't. But he looked decent. Objectively speaking, he looked pretty good. There were moments I was scared that he was going to make a play with his legs or with his arm because, he missed a lot of balls too. Let's not go crazy. But there were moments where I was legitimately scared of the Bears offense. And that's something I don't think we've experienced in a very long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say Justin Fields looked good. Obviously, we don't have to get into it, but I thought again he looked okay. Like he
He
did
looks
what he was
better than
supposed
he
to
had.
do.
Right. He
And he's
moved
not
the
like,
chains.
and again, like I can go on all day. Well, I don't think he's going to be this huge, big time starting quarterback. Like he did his job, and the motions, like you said, the motions and the running game really helped him out. Like because
Yeah.
the Packers were forced to spread out because they were going empty set. And they're putting motions in with Grant, and they didn't know what to do. So they're spreading out, and then that's when the underneath came in. He could use his legs, kind of open everything up, and they were just kind of scrambling because they didn't know what to do. Which that's what good offenses do. They force you to open up, and they kind of are guessing what's going to happen. Which that's what the Bears forced the Packers to do. I mean, credit to them. They had a good game plan coming in.
Yeah. And they didn't adjust at half, and that's a sign of bad coaching.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, I'll give them credit for the first half because there was a lot of creativity. That second half, they didn't adjust. Packers figured it out, and then Fields looked mediocre again. And again, that's just, and I don't want to have this fight, but that's why I believe it is in my opinion that Fields can be good, but he's not getting any help from his coaches. And I don't know if you saw this too, Allen Robinson. It was a Justin Fields scramble. Allen Robinson could have blocked somebody and he could have picked up an extra 15 yards. Robinson literally just went to the bench. Like he just peeled out of bounds and wanted nothing to do with it. Like the team has quit. So it's hard. And these young quarterbacks are really hard to evaluate. Like Trevor Lawrence, again, back to Jags talk. Urban Meyer is a dope. So is Lawrence going? I mean, we were told he's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. It hasn't been that way. But, I mean, can you blame him? His head coach is literally physically assaulting the special teams. Like, so it's just hard. But I thought the first half, the Bears showed creativity. I had a little bit of fear of Justin Fields. Like, oh, God, he's going to pick up it's 3rd and 5. He's going to pick this up with his legs because we have no answers right now. But, I mean, and the offense, too. Let's talk about the offense a little bit. Rodgers looked locked in. I know he said his toe hurt after the fact. That was the best we've seen that offense look in a very long time. They were going point for point with Chicago for that first half. And the second half, it was over. Forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, I know those first couple drives were pretty shaky, though. I mean, just trying to force everything downfield. It was frustrating. Like I said, I wasn't able to watch the first half of the game like in person. I had to listen on the radio, so it was kind of hard to follow along. Like they do a good job like talking on the radio, but it's still kind of hard to follow along since I don't listen to a lot of radio football. But it was frustrating to see that they kept trying to throw the ball when they're running and they're getting 4 or 5 yards carry. It's like just keep get a mix. And then they obviously, like you said, after that they found the rhythm. They were able to kind of go back and forth, find a rhythm where they're going to work with offense, and obviously after that, kind of everything started clicking.
And I'm glad you brought up the slow starts because this season specifically, it has been a problem. It has not been in the past. This season, it's been a problem. And you're right, running the football. In that game total, they ran the ball 24 times for 119 yards total as a team. That is Kirk Benkirk taking a knee twice. That is Rodgers running once for nothing. Lazard on an end around for 14, just one. Aaron Jones, 5 for 35, and A.J. Dillon, 15 for 71. They could have and should have ran the ball more. In the second half, they did. And all of a sudden, we're moving change. The fourth quarter, I think it was their last scoring drive. They had the ball for almost the entire fourth quarter. It was like 10 minutes. And it just – I don't understand these slow starts. And it's hard to criticize them, too, when they put up 35. It's 45 in the scorebook, but they did get help with a pick 6. So take that for what it's worth. But – you're absolutely 100% right. They need to run the football more, even if it's not working. As we've talked, and you played offensive line. You're a collegiate football player. If you keep running the ball, you keep pounding, keep grinding, you're going to wear that defense down, and it's going to open up so much for your offense. So to just run the ball 24 times, it didn't make sense to me. And now this game was a bit of a shootout. So first half, they were playing catch up the whole first half. And again, this is one of those scenarios where you're playing a really crappy Bears team. You can fall behind, and it's not a big deal. You can't fall behind against Kyler Murray. You cannot fall behind against Tom Brady. You can't – Dallas is kind of an enigma. I can't really figure the Cowboys out. But if the good Dallas shows up, you can't fall behind against that team because they got weapons they can keep scoring. So the slow starts do concern me, and I'm glad you brought that up. But I mean, you're right. I just keep repeating myself. They got to run the football, and that just sets up everything. That's what they did last year.
And I think the toughest thing for them to figure out right now is just how to balance Dillon and Jones, because I mean they're their, like, obviously besides Adams, they're their best players. Like, how are you going to find the balance? And like, I know a couple of years ago, like when they had a dual backfield with, like, you know, Williams and Jones, they kind of found a good balance between the two where they would switch off and come in. Like they haven't quite found that. I thought like in the second half they found a good balance to when to throw one another in. Like they had a better scheme and plan. Because like I said, this first half just seemed like they were just kind of throwing guys in for no reason, rhyme. It just didn't make any sense why they were putting them in. Like they be putting Jones at like a 4th and 2, like, or like 3rd and 2. Like Dillon should be in that scenario to like kind of like force some guys to creep up thinking they're going to run the ball, because then you can do play action. Like there's so much that opens up. And honestly, like I said, it's just player personnel and scheming. I think it is at this point when you can tell when they figure it out, when they kind of have the right personnel and everything starts flowing, because it opens it up, because they have threats, but they just got to use them right.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. And I'm looking at Aaron Jones' total touches. So total, he had 8 touches, 2 touchdowns, and 65 yards. Him not getting as many touches, I think, means A.J. Dillon's really running well. So that's also helpful. But also, I do think he's still a little banged up. So I'm sure they have him in bubble wrap and really don't want him out there if they don't have to. But, I mean, and again, they're going to need him come January. At this point, they need to win out to get the 1 seed. I think home field advantage this year is going to make a world of difference. Tampa's not losing at home. I mean, if there was any example you needed from Tampa, that win they had in overtime, they're not losing at home. Like, they just pull miracles out of their butts. Like, they are not losing. Arizona, with the Packers' playoff history in Arizona, do you really want to go to Arizona? I sure as hell don't. And Dallas is a long shot at this point. But, I mean, I wouldn't really want to go to Dallas either. Now, again, they're confusing, but I still wouldn't want to go to Dallas. I think if they're at home, this team is good enough. They can get the job done at home. It's not like last year where they were good, but they still had flaws, especially defensively. All that seems to be shored up. They got to get home field this year. Now, their schedule coming up, they're not necessarily cupcakes, let me tell you. So they start this week, they go to Baltimore. Lamar's banged up, so they get a little bit of a break. It's not going to be an easy game. The Browns, half their team just went down with COVID. So, I mean, who knows about that game? There's no lines for next week or anything yet, but, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if the Packers open at 10+. Mm-hmm. Plus, they're at home. Then they are at home against the Vikings, a bit of a revenge game. That game is actually Sunday night football. So another Sunday night spot at home where they have played really well all year. And then they finish at Detroit, which recently has been a house of horrors. They've won, but what was that? Was that last year or the year before? They won both games by leading for exactly 0 seconds.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, but regardless, Detroit's a tough place for them, apparently. So they're definitely not cream puffs. Tampa's got a cream puff schedule. Tampa's probably going to win out. So you are going to have to win out. All these games matter. But let's look ahead to next week's game. So right now, the Packers are opened as a 6-point favorite, which seems about right to me, but that also seems a little high. It's a little scary. I don't know if I'll bet that one this week. Lamar, day-to-day, they're planning on having him out there, but it's going to be a diminished version of him, maybe 80% of him. Their leading rusher, Lamar Jackson. You don't really have to worry about their running backs. Receivers, does Hollywood Brown really scare you? Not really. Mark Andrews, okay. I mean, the Packers have had a history of struggling with good tight ends, sure. Although Devondre Campbell has shored that up a little bit. And their secondary is, it's no one's fault. It's just shredded right now between injuries and COVID and everything else going on in the world. They got a lot of questionable guys, and I don't know how many are actually going to play. So for that reason, and even ESPN right now has them as a 58.1% in their matchup predictor or whatever. So they're already giving Green Bay a 59% to win. So I guess, do you have any thoughts on this game? Because I'm still a little confused. I want to see what things look like come Friday and Saturday. But right now, I mean, they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, I mean, regardless if I mean, it doesn't really matter. I guess who plays them for me. I feel like they're going to take this game because I think they're just the overall better team. Baltimore seems to kind of struggle against. I mean, you look at just all the teams they struggle against this year, especially good defense. It seems like they've really struggled when they get pressure and get good defenses. But I mean, especially with if Lamar isn't at 100%, I mean, then I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Forcing Lamar to throw and trying to beat us in the air, like I feel a little bit better about that rather than having him running on the ground. That's when he's the best.
Yeah, and agreed. And I don't really have a lot to say on this game because I think you just nailed it. The only thing that I will say is Baltimore by DVOA has the best special teams in football. That scares me now. That's never anything I had to worry about, but this year I worry about it. Just because I
switch.
What?
So can we switch with them? Just
yeah,
take ours, we'll take theirs.
I don't understand. Oh, that's going to be the part that's stressful. Now, every kickoff and every punt on both sides, I'm just going to sit and stress. Because if they are in the Super Bowl, that's going to be an issue. And I'm sure there's going to be some trickery, or any team that plays them is going to empty the bag, and that's going to put more stress on them and on us watching. So, but anyway, that's our game look ahead. So let's get into all the chaos. They're probably, and actually, I gave my takeoff already, so we will probably skip the takeoff this week. But everyone's favorite segment is Dustin shakes his bottle. I'm going to shake this bag because it is time for.
It's time to tempt fate.
Hold up!
Here's this week's Bag of Chaos.
So to recap, last week, everybody won. Dustin had Tennessee. They were winners. Alec had the Chargers. They were winners. Sanford, holy shit. Chug, 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 chug. Oh my God. Thirsty fella?
I didn't eat after the weight room. I'm a little hungry.
Oh, I was like, wow. I was going to push through, but I got distracted and mesmerized. Anyway,
Sorry, I was trying to finish it before they came back on, but I wasn't quite there.
And I had San Francisco, who pulled one out of their butts last Sunday against the Bengals. So we all are sitting at 4-3 heading into the home stretch here. So Alec has requested to take his second team no matter what. So I guess let's check it out. So I guess his first pull that he's not keeping, the Rams. Ooh, well, I guess if he doesn't want the Rams, who currently are, let me find the line here as I am speaking. The Rams are 4.5-point favorites at home against Seattle. He said throw it back. So I guess it is what it is. I mean, that's what he said. I have text verification, and oh boy.
No.
The Raiders.
Oh no.
The Raiders are a 1 point. Actually, that changed because of all the COVID stuff. So the Raiders are actually a 1 point favorite now in Cleveland as they take on a pretty decimated Browns team. So, I mean, maybe an upgrade because Seattle's got that upset potential. But Alec is going to take Vegas because that's what he requested. So there we are. All right. Dustin is up. And Dustin will select the Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater and company coming off a huge win against the Lions. This week they are 2.5-point favorites at home against Cincinnati. What say you?
Don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Even with Burrow not being 100%,
I don't trust Denver. I just don't trust them. Like they're just a team that I just think that just cannot get it right every week.
I'm with you. And you get Seattle 4.5-point underdogs.
Bitch.
Oh boy.
All
4.5-point underdogs against the Rams this weekend. I'm so sorry. And now shake it up, and I will be selecting after a good rummage, because everyone knows I like a good rummage. All right, what do I got here? Tampa. Please tell me they're at home. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing. Where are they hiding? Oh, they are an 11. I mean, you can't do much better than this. They are 11-point favorites at home against the Saints. Lock that in. I like that a lot. Keeping it. That seems that I actually might put real money on the money line for that one because that seems as close to a lock as there has ever been.
I don't know. The Saints look pretty good. Kamara's back. Taysom Hill's playing pretty well. I don't know.
Tampa doesn't lose at home. And they're averaging, I think, on the Big Five, and I'm sure that number changed now. But I mean, they don't lose at home, and they put up about 38 points at home. I don't think the Saints can match that. So I like that a lot.
Yes.
I am thrilled. All right. Well, that was the bag of chaos. We're all sitting at 4-3. Let's recap this. Alec has Vegas, Dustin has Seattle, and I have Tampa this week. We're not doing the takeoff. So I guess that brings us then to this week's, if you even have one prepared.
It's time to get wacky. It's time for Random Packer of the Week.
All right, Dustin, are you prepared? If not, that is okay. I can be prepared.
I mean, I can be prepared too if you would like.
Hey, it's up to you. Whenever you're ready.
I'll go. And I feel bad because I think someone said this, but we're going to say him again then. My random pack of the week is Donald Driver.
Again, this is one of those times I think you play a different game than me and Alec do. I think they're like way too good to be random. Like I'm looking here. I just typed in a random year of Packer before the show, and I typed in 1995, the year I was born, and I got lots of good ones. I got Ty Detmer. There's a Mark Ingram apparently, a wide receiver, a different Mark Ingram.
Well, every time I give you guys a really random name, you always say, "What's that?"
Well, because the game we're playing, a peek behind the curtain, Alec and I are playing a game of random, but not like good random, like kind of a like literally random, like, oh, that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, as Chris points out in the chat here, he wants to get wacky. Donald Driver's not wacky. He's a Packer Hall of Famer.
Okay, I'll rescind. You can go. I'll rescind. I'll go.
All right, I will give you a little bit of time. I'm going to go with tight end, and the only reason I remember this name is I watched a Brett Favre documentary. I'm going to say tight end Keith Jackson, number 88. I don't really have a lot of stats or anything, but Keith Jackson, tight end, Packers, 1995. I know that wasn't a lot of help because I know I'm still stalling for you. So while I'm stalling, let me just tell you, if you don't know where to find us, you can find us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there as we're about to wrap up the show here. Subscribe to YouTube. You will get notifications when we are live. As of right now, it's either Wednesday or Thursday for the most part. Now with holidays coming up, it might be a little different because obviously we have family stuff going on. But make sure you subscribe to YouTube. Either way, you will get all the notifications. Big L's Big Five will return this weekend. Sean dominated again, 5-0. He will be back for his third consecutive week, tying Dustin's record. So we'll see if he can beat Dustin's record this week. But that is a YouTube exclusive, so check that out there. Make sure that you also subscribe to Facebook. Facebook is where we are doing a lot of our news gathering and news sharing, so make sure you are tuned in and plugged into our Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter at Corner Lockdown. Alec has kind of taken over the Twitter sphere. We are talking potentially about getting a TikTok, but we will update you as we go there. Again, just projects in the works as we're trying to keep our core Lockdown Corner podcast, but also try and extend our reach so we can bring more people into Lockdown Nation and grow this thing because obviously we care about it and we care about you that watch us, that care about us. So thank you again. And also, of course, subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And hey, before Dustin says his random Packer of the week, we have a comment. Billy Schrader, wonderful random Packer of the week. I play softball against him. He's competitive, let's say. So, anyway, we're rolling on. Dustin, what do you got? Close us out with a banger.
All right, fine. And this is, again, I don't know how random this is for you guys, but Nick Perry, linebacker from USC.
It's random, but again, he might
a little bit new, but he's a very forgettable person.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just biased because I'm pretty sure I was the only one to buy his T-shirt jersey when he was drafted. So like Nick Perry's a name that's like lodged in my brain. So yeah, you know what? Good enough. Good answer. Good answer. That will do it for us here on the Lockdown Corner. Thank you for watching. As always, do it and subscribe to everything I already said. I won't go over that again. Big game against Baltimore this week. Hopefully we come back with good news. And my God, do we both hope that the special teams doesn't blow this game for us because they need it. Win out and you get the 1 seed. But that's why they play the games, as Chris Berman always says. And on that note, enjoy the game this weekend. Enjoy all your last-minute holiday shopping. And as always...